Now, I see this program as the light in Crossroads and a place to belong for both children and youth and everyone.
Welcome, Siviwe. Thank you for joining us here on Portraits of Crossroads. It's a pleasure for us to have you here today, and I think Ben and I both want to thank you for trusting us to tell your story. And I want to begin with you kind of telling us a bit about your family, growing up in Crossroads, and what was that like, what your parents did for a living, and how they ended up settling here.
Yeah. So I was born here in Crossroads. My father originally comes from the Eastern Cape, and then he met my mother, who was born in Ikamva Township. So they got married around the 90s, and then I was born a few years later. So yes, I grew up like everyone from Crossroads, I went to one of the primary schools around here called Afterschool Labantwana Bethu. When I was doing grade 5, I wanted a better school, because the schools around townships, they have limited resources. Classrooms are overcrowded and stuff like that. But in order to attend a good school, you need to come from a financially stable family, So it was just a dream for me. But, it happened that in 2003, in December, I lost my brother, Julian, who was stabbed to death in Unati. It's a place in Crossroads. But he died a few meters away from our house. After he was stabbed, he ran home, but he couldn't make it. So that really changed my life. And I remember then going back to school the following year in January, and I was doing grade 6, and I thought to myself, I must do something or, exit township in a way by attending another school. So I went on and searched for a school in town that was going to be affordable for my family, and luckily I got a school, so I went to study at Woma High School. But during those years, Woma High School had only grade 8 and 9. So I attended there for 2 years, and then when I was doing my 9th grade, I heard about Lip Science and Med School. So I applied. Luckily I was accepted, and I was exposed to the best teachers. The school was well equipped. They had all the resources, and I think I had to prove myself. That this is what I wanted. So I did not play. And I knew that if you get a good education, the sky is the limit.
And another question I had about your childhood, which I thought was really fascinating when we spoke earlier, was you said in 1999 your father received a call to join the church, and that kind of changed your daily life because you started attending the church almost 7 days a week. So I'm curious, how did the church kind of change your trajectory, or how does it kind of still inform you today?
So the church helped me a lot in my childhood phase. And the church to me was like an after-school program, There is no church like the church I've attended, the Old Apostolic Church, that has a 7-day program.
Wow.
So church was my second home. And then I participated in the choir practice. And I used to spend an hour, 30 minutes every day, learning new songs. I was also introduced to musical notation, do, re, mi, fa, those things. Yeah. So it was like very cool things. And then I was also a tenor singer at some stage before I developed a bold voice. And then in my teenage years, I changed into baritone. So it helped me quite a lot. And also when I was in high school, it was the same pattern. I used to be in church every day. 6 to 7 days a week up until I finished matric. I got good grades in matric. I passed my matric with a full exemption. So that meant I could proceed and go into university. So I went to university in 2010 to study education. 2 years later, in 2012, I founded the project Ikamva Labantwana to make sure that we assist kids academically. We had a group of about 30 kids who were in grade 7 when we started the project. We took them to LEAP for an assessment test, and out of the 30 students, about 10 of them got accepted at LEAP. They were awarded full scholarship for their entire high school years. So for me, that was a huge surprise, and it really inspired me, to do more. So then I left school just to focus on building the organization and the community by making sure that we send more kids to schools like LEAP. And the following year, the numbers dropped a little bit. It was 7 kids who got admitted to LEAP. But again, I was happy. So after 2 years of operating the project, in 2014, we then realized that, let's maximize opportunities for the youth and children of Crossroads by approaching more schools that are also high performing. And then we traveled to different schools talking about the program and what we are doing. And all the schools that we approached became interested in the students of Ikamva, saying that, the students we were producing are the kinds of students they are looking for. So after that, every year we have been getting 100% placement of students in our high-performing high schools. We're not saying that it's bad to study in township, but all we are saying is that if there are opportunities, better opportunities out there for kids to benefit from, why not send them to those opportunities? ILB has also evolved as an organization because we've realized that the issues in our community are complex. We are doing something for children, and it's great. Kids are getting in good schools, going into university, but what about the youth? What about the young people in the streets? We crafted a program that would address the issue of youth unemployment, and our focus was then in Nyanga and Crossroads, which is the mega capital of South Africa. And the young people of Crossroads and Nyanga have impressed me. When you read about the stories in the media about Nyanga, all you hear is crime, violence, and everything. But when we brought up the program, it was like it's something they have been waiting for a long time. And ILB filled that gap, And as much as we are giving them skills, training, but in the process, we are building resilience and hope. Now, all the young people who enter our doors, when they leave ILB, they are transformed and, ready to stand for themselves in this world and to claim their rightful places, to change their families and their communities.
At our age, you started ILB. So when you were 20 years old, you started Ikamva. Where did it come from? I mean, how did you have the courage at such a young age to say, I'm going to start my own nonprofit and really commit to this?
Yeah, I guess who will really stand for the children and the youth? And we've got leaders, the government, and everyone, but someone has to stand up. So I think I was responding to the need. And I was like, everything else I'll put on hold, and now I'll focus on rebuilding this community. Because I want to see change, because I have lost my brother, because I've lost so many friends, someone needs to stand up and do something. So it was coming from there.
And now, can you kind of tell us in detail, what was Ikamva in its first iteration? I know we weren't in this building. I know we didn't have all this infrastructure. Ikamva in its first months, in its first years, where were you guys, and kind of what was the work that you focused on almost exclusively?
Yeah. So first year, we were all volunteers. I recruited friends from university to join me. Other people around Crossroads to volunteer. As long as you have a good knowledge of mathematics, and science, and English, you can join us. So we were all volunteering, and my mother would assist us with soup because we were only running it once a week. So every Saturday, my mother would cook soup and then would collect it from my place to Klinga. And the kids were also participating and motivating us. So it was self-funded in the first year. By the end of our first year, in 2012, we secured a donor who committed to about 60,000 rands for 2013. And it helped us to do more, to provide proper nutrition now, to also pay our volunteers' transport fees, and cover other costs. And the funder was also mentoring us, giving us organizational skills development, helped us to restructure the programs. They increased their funding the following year. They also introduced us to other funders. And in 2015, we were then approached by another US-based organization. They are in San Francisco, called the Cameron Schreier Foundation. And they sent one of their employees to come and work with me over 12 months, if I remember well. And she really helped us, with the operations, to streamline things, to professionalize the organization. And they helped us also with more funding to be able to grow. And then we also received kind donations from the community. Nelson Mandela High School offered us an office space, a staff room, and classrooms for us to run our programs. And then in 2016, we heard about the development of Philippi Village, which is a business hub, and we heard that the Crossroads Library was relocating and moving into the business hub. The library relocated because there were a lot of robberies that took place in this place. So it was much safer to move to Philippi Village. But as a community-based organization, we then realized that, we would do something about crime and robberies. So we made our research, and then we had where to go and what to do, completed application forms, and finally our application to list this place was approved by the City of Cape Town municipality. And it was a big boost to the organization, made a huge difference. But it was not like this when we got here. It was an open plan building. And we had to fundraise, work hard, find people. But, people responded. They supported us. We changed this place completely. We partitioned the building and made about 5 classrooms, painted the space, put on new carpets, everything. It was not like this. It was a long journey, but also encouraging, to have a program like Ikamva at the center of the community. I see this program as the light in Crossroads and a place to belong for both children and youth and everyone.
Something that's come up a lot, especially here at Ikamva, is math being an obstacle for students to get into good high schools, to get into LEAP schools, to achieve matric. So why more than English? Why more than literature, history, science? Why is math specifically the biggest obstacle for students in furthering their educational goals?
Well, when kids start their education in South Africa, they learn mathematics in their home languages from grade R to grade 3. Now, when they get into grade 4, there is a transition to English learning. And now kids have been learning mathematics in isiXhosa for 4 years or their entire, And now when they are 9-year-old, when they're in grade 4, they have to learn English, mathematics and English. So that language change is one of the contributing factors to kids' poor performance in mathematics. So now why we have decided to work with children and in grade 4 is to help them during that transition phase. Most of our tutors are Xhosa speaking, so they are bilingual. And they have the time to spend with kids. So kids attend from 8 to 2:30 every day, they go to school. But they also have another 2 hours where they get support in mathematics. So we have decided to focus specifically on mathematics and other subjects to make sure that these learners are well prepared. It's not always easy to get learners to that level, but we always encourage parents that they need to make sure that their kids start joining ILB program as early as possible, and that is from grade 4. And when they start here in grade 4, they might not be there, but trust me, they will be spending their 4 years here. So on the way, changes will happen. Even if you come from Crossroads, you can still get good grades if you put your mind to anything that you are doing.
Now, what do you think are the largest challenges facing Ikamva Labantwana? What are the things that need to be faced?
Big obstacles. Well, one of the greatest challenges we have is we want to replicate this change, not only here in Crossroads and Nyanga, but to other similar townships, because they have similar issues. But we can't get there because of limited resources. We want to do more. We want to touch more lives. We want to work with other communities, because I've explained to you that, the people in power, they are not where we are. They are too far. So they don't see the agency that we see.
And then another question I have is, what are the short and long-term goals of Ikamva? The short-term meaning, the next couple of years, and then maybe your vision for Ikamva in 5-10 years. I mean, how do you see this nonprofit growing?
Yeah. So our short-term goals, is to add more spice, We focus more on education, but we also need to explore music, visual arts, sports, and other things. So I think we want to add that layer and work more with parents of the children. around parenting, build the capacity of parents. We sometimes come across issues around rape. Some of our kids are raped in their homes. And our focus is more on education. So sometimes we struggle to deal with other issues they bring to us. So having people who are experienced to deal with those matters will be helpful.
Like social workers.
Like social workers, yeah. And, art practitioners, sport coaches, who would specifically make sure that when youth finish attending our skills development program, they get jobs. If they don't get jobs, they further their education. And then I think long term, to have other programs around other townships within Cape Town and move to the Eastern Cape and the Northern Cape. Yeah.
And now, my final question and kind of the thing we ask most people at the end of the podcast is, do you have hope for Crossroads? What else needs to be done? How do you view this community now, and then how do you see it in the future?
I do have hope. Crossroads is changing. It's not like before. We are growing the next generation of leaders. That makes me hopeful. Everyone that we work with here, they know that umdungabantu, a person is a person through other people. And each one of us is taught here to do something for the greater good. The community will change in so many ways.
Well, thank you again for joining us. It was really a pleasure. And again, we just want to thank you for letting us share your story and share the story of Crossroads and giving us this opportunity. So thank you again.